The 1977-78 season, League Division 4 finished 20th, League Cup first round, FA Cup first round. Halifax Town and Alan Ball breathed a huge sigh of relief when they were re-elected at the Football League's annual meeting on the 17th of June, polling the most votes, 44. Happy too were Hartlepool, 43, and Southport, 37, for they also held on to their Football League status, but not so Workington. This was their fourth successive reapplication, and the league clearly felt a change was overdue. With Wimbledon's reputation growing in non-league circles, especially after a marvellous FA Cup run in 1974-75, they were elected with 27 votes, 6 more than Workington. Alan Ball made just 2 pre-season signings. The fans had expected something a little more radical, and who could blame them? There was concerns too that the newcomers were both central defenders, with Tommy Horsfall arriving from Cambridge United and Terry Alcock from Port Vale. When the side got down to business, they looked to be starting as they had left off, winning glorious defeat in the League Cup at the hands of Rochdale. Once Halifax lost the second leg at the Shea, they bowed out 2-3 on aggregate. Ball went to Huddersfield to strengthen his midfield, signing the experienced Steve Smith. Though far from fully fit, Smith took his place in the Town line-up for their opening league game at, as fate decreed, newly elected Wimbledon. The Shaymen played their part in a thrilling contest, equalising near the end for a 3-3 draw. 3 days later, a 3-0 win over Hartlepool had some fans believing that maybe Town were onto something special this season after all. How wrong could they be? Northampton brought them back down to earth by winning 1-0 at the Shea, and Town slipped down the table at an alarming rate. The results went from bad to worse. Ball admitted he did not know what to do for the best, and from October was left to fend for himself for a while after coach Sid Farrimond left to join second division Sunderland. Farrimond would be influential in Sunderland's purchase of Town's young Roland Giorgio in November for £5,000, but meantime, following 11 games without a win, Town lay next to bottom. Bristol Rovers striker Wayne Powell arrived on loan. Town might have brought him had they been able to afford the £10,000 asking price, and he made his debut and scored the winner in a 2-1 win over fellow strugglers Southport. But Town could not build on this, and 3 consecutive defeats left the situation as desperate as it could be. Drastic action was called for. Behind the scenes, the club had appointed lifelong supporter Tony Thwaites as commercial manager, but a month or so later he would be working under a new chairman. At the board meeting on the 31st of October, Percy Alban resigned, claiming that he had been neglecting his plumbing business. Demolition contractor Andrew Delaney, on the board since May, took over as Halifax Town's latest chairman. Ball knew his own position was hanging in the balance following a 2-0 home defeat by Newport. 2 days later, on the 14th of November, the board decided enough was enough. Having won just 2 of his first 17 league games, Ball was dismissed. Due to a lack of satisfactory results, Mr. Ball's contract has been brought to an end, read the club statement. Ball responded by saying the sack did not surprise him, only the timing of it. 2 weeks earlier he had been told he had a month to improve the results. Delaney obviously decided he could not wait that long. Jimmy Lawson was handed the caretaker role of player manager, and his first game in charge was a rest-riding senior cup tie at Huddersfield. The performance was encouraging. Halifax drew the game 1-1 but lost 5-4 on penalties, and in the next game the Shaymen came from behind to beat Aldershot 2-1 at the Shea, with Lawson prompting every move. Defeat 7 days later at Chesterfield in the FA Cup did not deter the board. Having already seen a marked improvement in performances, they appointed Lawson full-time manager on the 29th of November. The players responded to Lawson and strung together a run of 8 unbeaten matches. This enabled them to climb out of the bottom 4. It was ironic rather than coincidental that when Jimmy Bullock was officially appointed coach in January, the team slipped into their old ways and Town found themselves back in the re-election zone. Problems on the field then, and more off it. At the club's AGM on the 19th of December, Andrew Delaney had revealed that Town had made a loss on the year ending the 31st of March 1977 of £36,000. With the club continuing to lose money, he reckoned Town needed a minimum gates of £4,000 to survive. One solution, as was often the case over the years, was to sell their best players. On the 21st of February, goalkeeper Terry Genoa, who had been the centre of much transfer talk since the summer, moved to Laurie McMenemy's Southampton for a much-needed £35,000. The second division side obviously not deterred after Genoa had conceded 5 goals at Southend 4 days previously. Some of that money was made available for new players. Lawson had already secured Huddersfield winger Francis Firth on a free transfer, but went back to his former club to pay £10,000 for striker Bob Mountford, as well as obtaining Barnsley defender Peter Burke in a £4,000 deal. By the end of March, results once again had picked up, and Town climbed as high as 15th. Re-election worries seemed banished. That was not quite the case, but Town did avoid the indignity of having to go cap in hand to the league. This was due to gaining a point in their penultimate game, a physical 1-1 draw with champions Watford, managed by Graham Taylor, who would take them all the way to the First Division, and financed by pop star Elton John. Town lost their last game at Swansea, who thus clinched promotion, and ended the season in 20th place, 4 points clear of the re-election zone. Having been a close shave, but Lawson had somehow steered his ship to safety. His retained list reflected the confidence he had in his players. Only Terry Alcock was released, Tommy Horsfall having moved to Dover in March for a small fee, with former Huddersfield defender Jeff Hutt having signed from York City before the season's close for £4,000. Lawson felt he had every right to be confident for the new season. But no sooner had the curtain fallen than the directors were making waves. In a cost-cutting exercise, they decided to withdraw youth sides from the Lancashire League and the Halifax and District League, and then stated they were prepared to listen to offers for star player Bobby Flavelle. Finances, as ever, were dictated matters, and in light of the traumas of the 1978-79 campaign would bring, the club viewed the launch of the Shaymen lottery on the 18th of April as a godsend. Did you know fact for the chapter? In the 1974-75 season, Halifax had identical attendances, 2,063 for consecutive home games versus Plymouth and Grimsby.